Okay, I think I'm live. Hello, folks, and welcome to my presentation on the 5 dimensions of product market fit. My name is David Kirkdorfer. My goal here is to share some simple ideas that I think that you could use to take a look at your own company's product market fit. And so let's dive in. All right. So quickly about me. Again, my name is David Kirkdorfer. I'm located in Boston. I've been doing B2B technology marketing for about 30 years at a mix of startups and publicly traded companies, targeting IT and line of business buyers in SMBs and enterprise accounts. Much of that time, I have been in roles around demand generation and putting messaging and ideas into the marketplace. I joined Pavilion in 2020, January 2020, and today I help companies as a consultant doing 3 types of work for the most part: demand gen, ICP and persona definition and messaging, and sales enablement content. So a bit more about me. I've marketed a number of different types of technologies over the years. There are lots of acronyms on this screen. Perhaps one of these business areas is an area that you're working in today. I share this just to give you a background for where my talk is informed from, where my experience has been, and so that you get a sense of, okay, maybe he knows what he's talking about a little bit. He's kind of knows my market and so forth. And then here are some of the companies I've worked for over the years. Some of the companies, I haven't been able to find their logos because they went out of business and no longer around to be found. I counted recently, and it's including consulting companies, consulting situations. I've worked at 23 startups, 5 publicly traded companies along the way. My first software company was called Software House. One of the earliest software companies in the Boston, Massachusetts area. And my marketing has contributed to 1 IPO, many acquisitions, and unfortunately, 1 belly up. So that's where I come from. So into our presentation today. So product market fit, right? Do we have product market fit? How can we know for sure if we have product market fit? What is product market fit really? Now, a lot of people have different thoughts on this, and so that's why I put this presentation together, to try and refine my own thoughts and help me, as I speak with others, to share the same definitions around different challenges that we might be facing. We all want it, and we know that without product market fit, most B2B companies tend to fail. So how do we know if we have it? And I'd like to just start out by implementing a first poll, which is question 1. Do you have product market fit? So Shane, if you could share that with the audience. And the way I'm presenting my screen, I can't actually see the results. So this will be interesting. I know it's a simple yes/no question that is very complicated to answer. But do your best and think of your organization, your environment. And if you're an individual consultant who's watching this presentation, then perhaps you might kind of do the best you can to see if you think you have a good product market fit.
Right. So David, just popping in here to let you know that we've got 62% no and 38% yes. I was worried because initially it was like 86% no, but seems to have been out a bit.
Well, that's really interesting. So for those of you who believe that you are not working in a company with product market fit, it probably feels a bit like pushing rope uphill. So let's take a look and see what we can do to try and improve the situation a little bit. Now, for most people, product market fit, I have found in my years of experience, has come to mean something around the product works reliably and is expected by the market, right? And if that's the case, then that somewhat defines product market fit as an engineering problem. And of course, this is critical, right? You have to have a product that works. But based on my experience, this definition of product market fit is very, very incomplete. So let's dive in and take a look at what we could do to make it better. So I'm going to propose that true product market fit is made up of 5 distinct dimensions. And let me just go through them quickly, and then we'll dive into each of these in more depth. So the first is idea fit, timing fit, engineering fit, message fit, and value fit. And if you think about it, for your own situation, perhaps in your own organization, if you were one of the people that said, no, we don't have product market fit, you might have a clue as to which of these is where your area of weakness is, right? We really do want to have all 5 of these dimensions kind of firing properly. Otherwise, sales will not scale, right? And lack of fit generally makes our work much harder. And as I said earlier, it often ends a company because you spend so much money trying to scale and you are encountering headwinds along the way. So as I say, let's take a look at these one by one and see what we can do. All right, so the next couple of slides will have a definition on the left side and some proposed metrics and indicators on the right side. I'm guessing that this audience is very smart. You may come up with slightly different definitions, and that's fine. I did my best here to try and put something together so we can have a benchmark. And the same thing on the indicators. This isn't necessarily the end all and be all, but it's to try and lead us in a direction that helps us figure out if we think our idea is a good idea at this time. So let's just go through the definition, and then I'll pick on 1 or 2 of these metrics indicators to discuss. Right. So an alignment of the solution's concept and purpose with the needs and preferences of the ideal customer profile / personas. And that's really important because this fit is all in relation to our ICP, right? And one of the key things that we want to have an idea whose time has come. We don't want to end up with a solution looking for a problem, which is somewhat common with technology companies. So some examples of that would be virtual reality. When it first reared its head in the early 90s, right? We're still trying to figure out how to leverage that idea today. Apple Newton came out in the early 90s too. It was maybe it's a good idea. Maybe its timing was wrong. Right? Google Glass came out in 2013. It was definitely too early for society to accept. Now perhaps it's not. Right? So one of the challenges is when we work at startups, as many of us on this presentation probably work at today, right? We are generally working with ideas and concepts that are generally ahead of the market. We're just hoping it's not too far ahead of the market. Moving on. Timing fit. So do you have timing fit? So what is timing fit? This is one of the most important, along with idea fit. It's an alignment of the solution's launch with the market's evolving needs, ensuring its relevance amidst changing technological, cultural, and economic trends. So, for example, timing fit, let's take a look at the first of these indicators. Tech infrastructure, right? So your product may not be, or your solution may not be appropriate until the market has something already in place, ready to go, right? From my own career, an example. I joined my first mobile application software development platform company, so a company that gave you tools to build mobile apps for mobile phones. I joined that company in the year 2000, right? Great idea, a bit ahead of the market, 7 years before the iPhone. So that comes back to, was it a good idea? Yes. Was the timing right? Not really, okay? So I've proposed here a couple of other things you might look for to see if the timing of your idea is well-timed, right? Does the market have in place the technology that's required to move forward with your solution? And I'm going to provide a copy of these slides for everyone, so I don't want to kind of go through each of these different points, but some of these might resonate with you more than others. And you may actually have some questions and thoughts of your own on how to measure timing fit based on understanding your market and your particular solution and your ideal customer profile. So let's take a look at the next one. Engineering fit. Okay, so this is the one that many times we think of historically as product market fit, at least has been my experience. And I'm suggesting this pertains to the technical robustness and reliability of the solution. It works, right? And there are lots of metrics that we can kind of pick up on to determine how well it's working. And is it working better than before or worse than before? So given these types of solutions and products, they can be metricized and gamified. There's a lot of different metrics that can be picked up on. So one of the truths that I've developed for myself, I guess, is over the years, I've noticed that East Coast technology companies that I've worked for tend to get the engineering fit well. They end up with engineering fit first and foremost, whereas West Coast companies tend to get messaging fit first and foremost, right? And a lot of, we're going to talk about that in a moment. Where this has a ramification, of course, is how the company talks about itself on its website. So let's take a look then at the next fit, messaging fit. So here I'm suggesting two vectors within messaging fit. First, let's take a look at the definition. How well the solution value proposition is communicated and understood by the target audience. So are we doing a good job of trying to say the things that we want to say? And then second, how well the narrative aligns with the narrative of your ICP. So is what we're saying something that our buyers believe in? Is this where they want to go to? And I'm using the term narrative here in the Andy Raskin way of discussing things. Let's check on time, there we go. For example, as a kind of a narrative fit story, right? Some people bought Tesla cars because it fits with their environmental narrative. They think of themselves as trying to do good for the environment. And so a lot of people said, okay, this is the option that's available. It's a vehicle, it looks okay, it's in the price range I can deal with. And they chose Tesla cars. Now, there are other people, perhaps more recently, who would say, I'm not going to buy a Tesla car because the negative opinions I have of this company's CEO. And that's a different narrative. And so here we have a situation where we want to have, where customers buy based on what they believe they're buying into. What does it represent when they buy your solution? Another way of thinking of this is Gartner has long defined markets and marketplaces with kind of a bell curve where they have early adopters and laggards. You're probably familiar with this notion, right? So the interesting question becomes, if you have an unknown brand, right, or an emerging brand with an emerging category of solution, and your ICP is made up of many laggard type companies, is this going to be a good fit? Probably not. This is a big challenge. So if you're a small company and you're selling something new and you're targeting enterprise accounts, that may be somewhat of a mismatch. So you may want to refine further to try and find those early adopter accounts in various different which ways, right? And again, here are some different types of ideas that you might want to look at and think about for your own organization. Your marketing team might be giving you some of this information so you can figure out if your message is fitting. Right. Oh, and one thing I would call out here is a vendor who I always talk well about. If you're thinking of trying to test your message and if your audience is understanding your message, I recommend hopping over to winter.com. That's WYNTER.com. They have a wonderful service that basically puts your homepage in front of your ICP and gives you feedback from your ICP about what they think of your homepage. So it's tremendously valuable and a very fast way to kind of get information about whether your message is resonating and whether people understand it and care for it. So moving on. Value fit. Okay, definition here is pertaining to the customer's perceived value of the solution in relation to the cost of purchase, deployment, and maintenance. Is it worth buying? And then on the expansion side of the bow tie, is it worth renewing? And so we have lots of metrics, actually, that have been provided and suggested, and here are some of them, right? One of the key challenges that many startups have is trying to figure out what the value of their solution is and trying to balance enough revenue and income to keep the lights on and to meet the needs of a customer who might be replacing something that they already had with your better way and your better solution. I worked at a company that provided a type of network security, software-defined perimeter security, that was really a much better solution than VPNs. Now, one of the challenges that we had about organization at the time was we were charging about 10 times as much as per seat than the VPNs solution we're charging. So our prospects were saying, I love your solution. I think this is really great. I just can't afford to pay 10 times more for it per seat. So this value perception and trying to strike a balance between what's needed to keep the lights on, what the customers are willing to pay, keeping up with the market space is a challenge all along the way. So we might say, okay, well, David, that's nice. how do I take all this information? Perhaps I've created some measures. Perhaps I've got different departments trying to figure out some of these metrics that you've provided. I've put together this type of chart as an idea, as an example of what you might want to create for yourself, and just to kind of navigate around the chart. On the green lines, sorry, I guess I should start with the numbers, right? 0, no fit at all in the center, good fit, completely, perfect fit, if you will, towards the edges. And I'm suggesting that full product market fit, the way your chart ought to look would be something like this, where you're achieving around all of the all the definitions and dimensions, perfect fit. And partial market fit might look something more like this, where you can see you're weaker on timing fit, but you're strong on message. Weaker on engineering, but you've got a great idea. So you might want to put together something like this for yourself. And at this point, Shin, if we could do poll number 2. So here's another question. Which dimension is where you believe your company has the weakest fit?
The poll is active. If everybody, you want to just look to your right, and I see some votes coming in. I see it's pretty evenly split between engineering, message, and value fit so far, with only one person saying timing fit and none for idea fit. Interesting. We've got one for idea fit.
Okay, all right. So everyone's solution, everyone's situation is a bit different. And indeed, if you're working at a company, you probably think it's because what you have to sell is a good idea. So that's probably not a surprise. The challenge, of course, becomes then, all right, if we're not so good on these fits, how do we improve? Well, the first step is just to kind of measure it, to define it for yourself, and to understand what you're shooting for. And then creativity will come to bear. All right, so moving forward. Strong fit on all dimensions is necessary. Otherwise, I'm suggesting you don't really have full product market fit, right? And if you don't have full product market fit, you won't scale efficiently. You'll end up spending more money than necessary because your target, if you will, you're kind of off target slightly, right? And rather than being right on target, right? Sales will be lumpy, CAC will be high, churn will be high too. People will go like, yeah, we thought it was a good idea. Nah, it's not really a good fit. So let's go further. I'm going to suggest 2 other ideas that I'd like you to think about. The fits are not static and they're not binary. Okay, so let's take a look at each of these in turn. Not static. Markets constantly evolve. Changes can reduce or enhance any and each of these fits. For example, your value fit is impacted by an economic fluctuation. Back in 2008, 2009, at the beginning of the COVID epidemic, various points in history, there have been market contractions. People don't buy so much software. The value of that money is greater elsewhere. Right? Engineering fit can be impacted by new competitors who come up with new capabilities. All of a sudden, the bar gets raised, expectations advance, your product, wants to catch up. Or perhaps you have set the bar further forward and people are coming towards you. So it's not static. These things change. And the image here of waves is perhaps appropriate. If you've worked in technology long enough, you'll have appreciated how these technologies come and go in waves. And it's not binary. It's not all the way yes or all the way no, right? Any fit you will have will be relative. It's on a scale. Different buyers and different buyer segments may fit differently along a scale. Some companies you might discover that you've got better value fit with them, right? What you're offering, they're willing to pay for. They get better value out of it because it helps them in their business. Or engineering fit may be better at some companies, perhaps because they have pre-existing integrations that you want to leverage and so forth and so on. I was looking for an image to indicate binary fit, and I came up with something that kind of surprised me. It was this picture of Formula One race cars. And so while it's here, I guess I should explain why. If you follow Formula One, you might know that the Monte Carlo Grand Prix has been an F1 race since the beginning of F1. And at the top of this chart here, we can see the small cars that were around in 1950 and that would have raced around the Monte Carlo Grand Prix track at that time. At the bottom of the chart, we can see the cars today. They're almost twice as big. They're wider, they're longer, they're much faster, of course, as well. But the track, Monte Carlo, the course, hasn't changed at all. And what happened this year at Monte Carlo was the 10 starting positions of the race became the 10 ending positions of the race too. So the folks who were lined up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, that's exactly the order they finished, because none of the cars could overtake anyone else on the track, because the track was small now compared. So in a way, Monte Carlo no longer has engineering fit, if you will, with the Formula One cars, teams, and the race circuit. So kind of an odd story perhaps, but illustrative of something. Importantly, if you change your ICP, you're changing your product market fit. So this diagram here, you could see that probably we would all want to work or sell into ICPA, whatever it might be, because it seems to be scoring best on all of these different measures that I'm suggesting that we should be examining, right? That's your ICPs, however, could also be change this and put it into different niches or industries or segments within your overall ICP, perhaps. And you could say East Coast, West Coast, financial services versus healthcare, SMB versus enterprise. You can figure out the same idea for your ICP when you kind of drill down further. The point here is to suggest that some will be better for you than others. Nothing new in this idea, I know, of course, but just to articulate it perhaps and put it into a picture makes it resonate a bit more. So I'm going to suggest you're going to want to define your ICP in the first place with all 5 dimensions in mind, right? And that's rather important, because if you think you've got a good idea and you start to market it to the wrong environment, you're going to have a problem. Your sales will be lumpy and so on. So let's go to question number 3, please, of our poll for the audience. Shin?
I see the answers rolling in. You've got pretty even split with 2024 actually in the lead with 63%, 25% in 2023. We've got a couple people saying 2021, and funny enough, a gap. Nobody has selected 2022.
Okay, so the more recently you've defined or refined, the better. We have limited marketing dollars. We have limited sales time, and we don't want to spend our time or money approaching the wrong target where we do not have an advantage and a very good fit, right? Now, there comes a time in a company's trajectory where it might decide to go up market. Say we've sold well into the SMB space, but now we need to move up market because the profit ratios are better for us. That's a business decision to make. Trick becomes, will you have the engineering fit perhaps to handle your solution, handle more users, larger data sets, more stringent security requirements? Will you be able to scale, right? So as you change your market, your fit may, as I said before, get better or worse. If you've been developing for 5 years towards an SMB market space, you've probably gotten things sorted out for the SMBs. If you've just decided to switch to go up market, you may have some work ahead of you to sort out contract value, messaging, all of these different requirements. All right, so 5 dimensions. It turns out it's rather hard to get. I'm going to try and zip along quickly because I know my time is going to run out soon. But it probably explains why so many startups fail. So who should be involved in helping build this perfect idea of product market fit across these 5 different measures? Well, I'm proposing some groups and teams here, right? Idea fit, something that we want to make sure that the founder initially has, working with the product team, making sure that the idea still is well founded. messaging fit, marketing and sales probably have some information to help bring to bear on this. Value fit, finance, sales, and customer service teams as well. One thing to mention, in my experience, I've noticed that when your company doesn't have message fit, the signal to indicate that to you is when sales reps don't use the prescribed messaging, because it's probably not working. They're finding it's not connecting. So if you've discovered that your sales team is kind of making stuff up, seemingly so anyway, it's because they haven't found a solution that's come to them centrally. So that's an important thing. Also on value fit, sometimes it's just the contract terms that can make the difference, right? It's not so much the price, it's more the contract terms themselves that could be the challenge. Okay, I'm going to quickly zip along, as I say. I'm going to propose that product market fit is the old game. That the new game really we ought to be talking about is ideal customer alignment, because that is the goal that we're really trying to get to. And two reasons to move on from product market fit and to move toward ideal customer market fit. One, if you're like me and you have heard product market fit seem to be talking about product, which to me is kind of an inward focus on engineering and misses the four other dimensions of fit, product market fit will seem not a good way to describe this anymore. And of course, any level of fit is relative to the ideal customers we seek to align to. So I like this term ideal customer alignment better. It puts the focus on aligning with our customers and with ensuring that every aspect of our business serves to enhance customer success. Take our 5 metrics again, or five dimensions. I've got these questions here. You might want to take these questions and leverage them with your employees and perhaps with some of your customers, your trusted customers, and see where your employees think you come out on these 5 measures, where your customers think you come out, and importantly, do they agree? And where are the biggest gaps? Because that could be very revealing to you. So, moving on, suggested next steps. Perhaps it's a little ironic that a presentation about product market fit starts with 2 suggested steps about defining your ICP, but it is so critical and everything falls out from that. So I'd suggest you get your ICP definitions updated, written down, and agreed across all your go-to-market teams. That itself will be a very interesting and revealing exercise along the way. I suggest you use win-loss analysis to see if your sales wins actually meet the reality of your desired ICP. Could be you're winning more elsewhere, and maybe that's information you need to have to perhaps redefine your ICP. And again, I'm suggesting take these suggestions that I provided, and I'm going to happy to provide anyone a copy of this presentation so you can take a look and dive in deeper on your own time to try and figure out where you are aligned, where you have areas for improvement. One last idea I am not going to dive into because there's just not enough time is that as you're interviewing for jobs, you of course would like to join a company where there is some product market fit, unless your goal and your game is to try and help define product market fit. And so if you're in an interview situation, you might want to distribute some of these questions and ask about some of these metrics. And again, if you need a copy of this presentation, I'm very happy to present it to you. Just send me a message. Here is a QR code if you want to kind of link to me on LinkedIn. I'm fairly active. I talk about these types of things or write about these types of things there fairly often. And my email is pretty simple to reach, my first name dot last name at gmail.com. I believe I'm the only David Kirkdorfer on the planet. So that is my presentation. I thank you all. I hope this has been helpful. I hope this stimulates some thoughts for yourselves as you move into examining product market fit at your organization. Thank you.